I go down, you guys all go by. I don't wear it down first. Today's invocation will be offered by Beth Weaver.
Let us pray. Dear Lord and Creator of life, we thank you for all things. And today, how can we not be mindful of the sunshine and the beautiful flowers that surround us? We're also grateful for the food that we were so easily able to get today. And we just thank you for that blessing and for the cooks that prepared it. Lord, we pray for peace in this world that seems so difficult for us to obtain, but help us to start as the club and individually in our own homes, and just guide us and bless us to your glory. Amen.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I do want to start off our meeting with a moment of silence for past President Dennis Bowman that unfortunately had passed away last week. I know his services are tomorrow. So with that, let's go ahead and do a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. Well, this weekend, there was a lot of good things that happened. I don't know if you guys saw the Northern Lights that happened, but this was in Downton. So one of the good things about living in Downton, we actually got to see all the different colors of the parade. So that's what we got to see in Downton. I didn't get to see it. I was told this from somebody else. So I was setting up for some other events. I was in the building all night. So but I heard it was gorgeous and beautiful. So if you didn't get to see it, like me, I enjoyed other people's pictures. So that's that. The national days were jumping frogs, fruit salads, stuff like that. So I thought we would continue on with celebration of Mother's Day, since we have so many women in the club. So I thought we would continue the honor and with some fun facts. 22 million phones would ring on Mother's Day. Greeting cards are the top list of Mother's Day gifts. Mother's Day was made official on May 9th in 1914. And Mother's Day is the busiest restaurant day of the year. Wonder why? None of us want to cook. Americans spent $31 billion typically on Mother's Day. Carnation is the official flower of Mother's Day. Mother's Day is the third most attended church service. I think Easter is number one. I think that might be. American moms are influencing 73.1 million children. And so give it up to y'all. So hope you mothers have a wonderful day and enjoy the beautiful weather that we had. So with that, Secretary Lynn and Secretary's report.
Thank you, President Courtney. First, I would like to start by thanking past President Kim Sayers, who filled in for me for a couple of weeks. Really appreciate that she did that. She does a fantastic job at the podium, so really appreciate her work there. Also, thank you to the tech crew. I was able to zoom in, and it's so nice not to miss a Rotary meeting. I hear President McCall and heard Tammy Cruz's classification talk, and Josie Druschel and Frank Corelli. So it's nice to be able to keep up, and we appreciate that you do that each week, even though maybe we only have one or two. It is appreciated. I'd also like to welcome back, if you notice in the audience, we have several of our snowbirds back. I think it's Scott Allen, Scott Precinct, Jim Webster, and a real special welcome back to Chuck Frosty. He's had been dealing with some health issues in your back, and warm welcome, Chuck. Thank you. Nick Pasquarelli has the traveling microphone, and we'll start with Seth Buckwater.
My guest today is Ron Maxwell. Ron's the newest member of our team at Whitaker Miners.
Sue Crawford.
My guest, Bob Brennan, forgot to shut his phone off.
Armando and Erico. Ladies first.
Hi. Last summer we have home. So this is my first time tutoring from and I was so excited. I got Doris, and I got here sound and my husband bought me the flowers for the district. Yeah, this is so that was so amazing and so beautiful. And we went to Rocket Box and we had a great dinner. And we danced and danced and danced. And then we went to Aqua's Farm and we did a laser point. Yeah, it was a night. It was a very long night. Like we spent till 1 p.m. No, 1 a.m. Yeah. Night. And on Sunday, I went to Foxy Restaurant for the Mother's Day. Yeah, good restaurant. Today I went to King to eat children's food that I make in the creative writing. And last night I couldn't sleep because I'm scared. First of all, like I am youngest in my siblings, and I don't have youngest brothers. And I also youngest in my cousin. So I don't have any sisters, like younger kids. So I'm scared, and I didn't know that, like I didn't know they gonna understand my English. So I was scared. But today this morning I went to King and I read my children's book and they're like laughing and smile like, and I was so happy. Like they don't care about my English is not all good, and they just enjoying our children's book, and they're so adorable and they're so lovely. Thank you.
So I had gone to, I had like dogs with a blue team. It was a royal blue because my date's dress was royal blue. I went to a group to take pictures in the old RTC, something like that. After that, we went to eat Osaka. And then we went to Grand March. Then we went to Toronto. And I danced for like 3 hours straight. Actually, my cab, so like really sporty. I also got like beat up, like crowd surf. Yeah, crowd surf. And he wants to kick someone in the face. Yeah.
Thank you. Courtney has 2 guests. She'll introduce her.
Yes, my guests are, I am really gonna go down. Tyler Corbis and Bryce Irely. And they're both from the American Family Insurance here in Worcester. Thank you.
And we have 2 announcements from the podium, Tom Rumbaugh and Ron Holman.
The flags are finally ready to go. The maintenance days are over. The flags are ready to go out, and the groups are coming in this week to pick up their flags and get everything ready for Memorial Day. If anyone would like to volunteer to put some flags together and pass out the flags, go online and sign up. Flag days are Wednesday, May 15th, 5 to 7. and Saturday, May 18th, 9 to 12. Thank you. Thank goodness. Oh, sorry. On your table is an announcement, which you should take note of. It's your opportunity to get some culture. As you know, the light operas will be starting its season, and one of the premier shows is Guys and Dolls. I'm told that the tickets for that show are already selling very quickly, but we have reserved a block of tickets for Rotarians on the night indicated on your announcement. If you want to attend that performance, you need to get your ticket order in by June 10th, because the block will be released after that date. You can make them directly with the OLO office, or you can send some money to Lynn, who will make sure that you get tickets. There's a special price. There's an exclusive backstage tour, plus a wine reception before the performance. There'll be a lecture before the performance for those of you who don't understand the production, Guys and Dolls. And then, of course, the performance, and afterwards you get to meet some of the cast. So take advantage, it's a good deal. And if you don't want to go to the show, show up for the wine reception.
Thank you. All right, well, welcome to all of our guests. We hope you enjoyed today's program. And today, Tim Monet will be introducing our speaker.
So what do you envision sustainable growth over the next 10 years look like? What does it look like? How do we preserve what we love about Worcester, but yet make provisions for a growing and a changing city? What about the housing needs that we're going to have over the next 10 years? Transportation, recreation. How are we going to handle these things? And I think, as a lot of you know, the comprehensive 10-year plan has a lot of detail about all of these things in there. There's a lot of data about that. But Vince is going to help us to understand why it's important and a little bit of information behind those numbers, how it affects us and why we should care about it. And Vince Marion is the planning and zoning manager for the city of Worcester. He's been with us for about 2.5 years. Vince came to us as he was the director of planning and development for the city of Louisville for 7 years. And he was the director of planning for the city of Alliance for 14 years. Vince has a BS and a master's in political science and a master of public administration. So we'll give our attention to Vince.
Thank you, Tim. I'm always a little nervous when you're speaking before I am. It's good to see everybody today, especially with the competition what's going on right now with Bueller's in the North End. I understand that the Oscar Mayer mobile is making a 3-hour stop there this morning. Well, it's good to see everybody here. Thank you. What I'm going to go through with you over the next few minutes is the comprehensive plan that was completed during the year of 2023 and recently adopted by Planning Commission earlier this year, and we are in full force of implementation. The purpose of a comprehensive plan is Tim pretty much alluded to, is to create a blueprint that will guide future growth and development. And it's targeted for a 10 to 15-year period for the city and surrounding community. The comprehensive plan is citywide, and obviously from the title, it's comprehensive. It's long range, it's general in nature, as it's not a specific document that guides certain types of development, but gives recommendations of what things should look like. It's focused on the physical development as related to physical design and goals of the community. It isn't a zoning ordinance. It's not a subdivision regulation that guides how development occurs, and it's not the budget or a capital improvement plan. Rather, it's the document that provides the background in creating all of those documents moving forward for the city. The key plan implemented two different strategies in looking at the recommendations for the final plan. We looked at technical data, which I'll get into here in a little bit, and also significant community engagement over a 12-month period. Some of the data that we looked at, and this is not all inclusive that I'm going to go through here with you today, and I'll tell you at the end how you can get to all that data if you want to look at it. But we looked at projections for population growth, and we used the number of a lineal path keeping track of growth over the last 20 years. You can see where we started in 2000, and in the gray line shows that straight path to where we are today. And using that projection into 2040, it's anticipated that we'll be at around just under 30,000 people by the year 2040. That's just in the city itself. We looked at the type of households and what they're made up of in the community. There's currently today total of, well, this is a little low now, 11,148 households in Worcester, each made up of around 2 members. Family establishments represent 55%, while non-family account for the 45%. Additionally, and this was something that kind of surprised us as we were looking at this data, as well as the steering committee that was put together to help us guide us through this plan, that 24% of households have children, while 76% are without. There are no children in 76% of the dwelling units inside the city of Worcester. We kind of looked at and tried to project it, who will be living in Worcester in the future. Approximately 43% of adults in Worcester are married, while 57% have never been or divorced or widowed, and you see some breakdown there. Where and what housing choices are they living in? This is a time frame of when the majority of homes within the city were constructed. You can see that 1939 earlier category is taller than the rest of the 10-year gaps that are provided there. So there is a significant, with a big increase in the 70s and the early 2000s. This is a map that depicts the developable areas within the city and surrounding border. The red line, red on your screen, yeah, the red line indicates what is called the facilities planning area. So this is a geographic boundary that has been approved through the process and by the EPA for the city to extend its sanitary sewer lines. We're already approved within that geographic area to extend utilities out without having to seek special permission or approvals from federal agencies. That's a significant line because it shows where we have potential for growth, as well as the opportunity to extend our utilities. Jonathan Lay, who was not able to be here today, our development coordinator, actually kind of put some of this data here together. It indicates using that FPA boundary and looking at areas such as developable acreage in single parcels or co-ownership, slopes for land, what can be easily developed. And you can see in those that dark area, the black circles on the north and to the south, which is the prime area for potential development in the future. The next part of the information gathering process was community engagement. And a significant part of, before even reaching out to the community, a significant element to the comprehensive plan was that it was not just guided by city staff and the consultant that we retained to help us guide us through the process, but there was about a 15 to 20 member steering committee that actually guided us through the process, looked through all this data, sifted through all this information that came back through the community engagement processes to kind of formulate the recommendations that I'll get to in the end. We had a cross-reference of educational individuals, people from healthcare, people from the private sector, higher institutions of learning, the private sector, downtown, the hospital, significant sectors of our community were represented on that steering committee. There's probably several members here in the room today that were a part of that. And if you're not happy with some of the stuff that you're about to see, I'll provide that list of names to you at the end. You can discuss it with them. So anyway, during this process, we had over 1,800 respondents to a survey that was put out. We had 6 sessions of stakeholder meetings with over 60 attendees at those stakeholder meetings. And we had 3 open house public sessions where over 100 residents participated. Some of the results, and I'm not going to go through each one of them. It was about a 30-question survey. I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. Generally speaking, would you say that the things in Worcester are on a right track? 57% of them said right track. Thanks. So the majority, as you can see from that, the majority of the residents either didn't know or put us on the right track. Using a scale of 1 to 5, whereas 1 is extremely low and 5 is extremely high, how would you rate the quality of life? The average is at 3.7, with the majority over the 3 categories, answering 4 and 5. Here's one of the more significant questions. In your opinion, what is the most significant challenge facing Worcester? With 32 or 31% having poverty and homelessness at the top, followed closely by housing options and opportunities. It's these kind of answers that guide the discussions that took place at the steering committee level, and then develop the recommendations that I'll show you here towards the end. We get some demographic data. How long have you lived in the community? What are the age categories of the respondents? And then from the stakeholder meetings, there was several topics or focus areas that they had presented to us that kind of goes hand in hand with some of the data we were receiving back in the survey, as well as what took place in the open houses. So a lot of the comments across all 3 forms of trying to gather public information were heavily endorsing each other in terms of what was rising to the top in terms of issues. But during the stakeholder meetings, there was a strong feeling of wanting balanced growth while preserving the agricultural community and the agricultural identity that the community has. There was a desire to create attainable housing, the desire to support homeless and underhoused, mental health and other support services. Stakeholders wanted to continue to reinvent and revitalize downtown. They wanted to continue streetscaping to create a more pedestrian-friendly community, and they wanted to create more green spaces and areas for outdoor performances. And that kind of coincided with some of the information that we received back in the survey, as well as what took place during the open house. At the open house, residents had opportunities to actually this is a sample of one of the activities that they were given. They were given a series of dots, each dot representing a certain type of housing development in this case, and then placing that on the map where they thought that kind of development should be taking place. So when looking at all of the 3 strategies that were employed to gather public information and responses, here are the key takeaways when you look at them all. Respondents noted the lack of adequate and diverse housing for all demographics. There's a desire for balanced growth, retaining the agricultural identity rooted deeply in the community. A desire for strategic growth over the long term, balancing smart growth and new development and preservation. Residents would like to see a development of more intra-city and inner-city transit options. Residents desire additional shopping and entertainment options in the downtown area with adequate public parking. And working in partnership with the county and higher education institutions within Worcester. Respondents wanted to think about the ways the community can work together to be self-sustaining when considering business growth and development. Continuing to develop community connectivity and walkability. Developing local workforce and creating housing and transit options to support it. Residents would like more space for parks and recreation, which can accommodate expanded programming. They desire more public gathering spaces, especially in downtown Wooster. A lot of these may seem commonsensical, but it reinforces the activity that the city will go forward in the next 10 years in looking at budget priorities, planning documents, and whatnot. Just to quickly summarize how the plan is laid out. It's a couple 100-page document. It is available on our webpage. You can download it to your laptop, tablet, phone, have it online. It's free. Anytime you want to read it, it is available for review. But it's laid out in certain sections. There's 6 planning sections, 10 goal statements, 17 objectives, and 100 items of actionable activity that are recommended throughout the plan. And I'll get to that here in a second. The beginning part of it is the planning process. A lot of what I just explained to you. It looks at the existing conditions. There's several pages just on that data that was collected, and then a summary of all the community engagement. Within the plan, you'll find a future land use map. It kind of details areas of where the city should grow, and if not within growth, within infill type development, and what kind of development should be taking place as infill within the city. That is depicted here. And there are 12 pages just on future land use typology examples. And in that map that we just kind of looked at references those 12 categories and where they should take place. A sampling is conservation rule, which is a conservation rule allows for single family homes that are clustered with a larger size to reduce land consumption. And then there's innovation, which is kind of what we know today as industrial type activity or research offices. Where the plan does kind of change focus from the plan that was in place and adopted in 2014 was that it has some switch or reallocation of what areas the city should be focused on in terms of improvement and growth. One of the similar areas was the Arts District, but the current plan gives a little bit more detailed review of that area. And this is what the plan is recommending in terms of an art district downtown. You see it bounded on the north by Liberty and Vine on the south, with the parcels fronting both sides of Grant on the west and Market on the east. And here you can see what has been targeted for institutional type development, and that's already kind of growing as we see the library to the north and that in the Christian show up there in this area, and then Wayne Center for the Arts here. And it is planning or suggesting that in this large orange area should be medium density residential to support the arts district. Some types of activity, and I'll show you samples of what kind of development that they're recommending happens there. And along the pink area is 1- and 2-story commercial, and then you have 3- and 4-story mixed use with commercial on the bottom and dwelling units either on a 2-floor set, 2 floors or a single floor. It shows the proposed streetscape light enhancements as well as potential pedestrian walkway improvements. Back to the infill development, these are samples of what could occur in this larger orange area. You have existing layout where you have single family homes, taking up a spot with detached garages in the back. Sample block area with incremental infill. You have 3 or 4 units attached, townhouse type, or you can go with a really intense infill where you have multiple floors of individual dwelling units. Here's a look at current conditions. Walnut, as you're approaching the current ride-on facility that Local Roots is partner with and will be expanding into what it looks like today. And just as a concept of what it could look like in the future with a mural on the side of that building, a designated painted crosswalk area, some public open space, public art. Please don't get hung up on what that art looks like. This is just a sample of the space that's existing that some type of public art can occur. You see pedestrian friendly seating areas as well as improved sidewalks, pedestrian movement. Here's where the plan starts to significantly differ from the 2014 plan. And again, this is from the organic growth that's already occurring on East Liberty. Decided to make this a focus area for downtown improvement, capitalizing on, you have the distillery down here to the south. Of course, you know where the brewery is to the north, the new Italian restaurant, and the restaurants along Liberty. But what we are proposing here is some open space here along on the south side of Liberty. This is a proposed Bell extension. Again, this is all in concept stage, but if we were able to extend Bell from Liberty to South Street, this would be a sample of what that could look like. And then the types of uses in the buildings that are all around. You have the FL or flats for living dwelling units. You have mixed use under the MUs where you have commercial on the first floor with dwelling units above, as well as townhouse type developments here to the south and the west side of Minglewood. To create an open space, I think there's a different view of that same map. Whoop. And what this kind of allows is, this concept allows for easy closure of Bell Avenue for outdoor activity to occur here, as well as use that as a staging area or some type of other multi-purpose for outdoor community events, capitalizing on distillery, the brewery, and of course the restaurants with the open parking here. The hospital area was also a key area that the steering committee looked at. Here's an overview of what that area could look like. Of course, here you have the current hospital. The area to the south here is future hospital addition. That groundbreaking has already occurred. Their approvals have been through planning commission and they have building approvals. And this has been identified to the north side of the hospital's potential future growth. But in terms of community, what you have along here are changes in use. These would be all medical, targeted for medical office buildings. You have mixed use here, commercial on the first floor and dwelling units above, whether they're 2 or 3 story. You have mixed use here, as well as multifamily development here and townhomes along the north. You also see, potential improvements to the traffic conditions up at Portage in Cleveland. You see a roundabout, a peanut roundabout. I think maybe a better shot here. At the Bell Cleveland intersection, and then a roundabout at Winter and Bell. Smithville Western Road. Smithville Western Road was also a identified target area. As you can see on your map, the dark is Friendsboro Road. You have Riffle here to the west. Cleveland is over here to the east. And this is proposing Roofer Road be extended from Friendsville to Cleveland, opening this area for future development. Not just any development, but targeted development. In the pink area, you have 2- and 3-story mixed use. You have local commercial activity here with medium density residential in the orange, possibly some single family in the yellow, with a trail system, and the green obviously is open park systems. These are examples of the type of development that could occur in those various targeted areas. You have cluster homes, and again, these are all samples of what could be occurring. Duplex style, single. I'm going to stay from there. You got townhomes that could occur and sample apartments. These are medium-sized mixed-use facilities where you have commercial on the first floor, and this is 2 stories of dwelling units above, commercial on the first floor, 1 story, and then you just have a small flexible space that could be used for a variety of activity. Here, this is the Gaius Chapel Road District, and this is. I want to kind of go back to the FPA plan, the facilities planning area. You can kind of see that in this dashed area here, where we already have approval to extend utilities. And what we're looking at, proposing here, is suburban development in this yellow orangish area. In the lighter color would be cluster development. But again, this is where we already have approval to extend utilities, as well. It makes sense for the topography of the land, as well as the opportunity for development. This lower section here has already been approved for single family development, and it's already under construction. This would be a natural growth of that area. And some of the types of development that could occur could look like this. The one up to the left upper corner is a traditional single family home. Over here you have rural cluster type development. Single family example are still separated. And the rural, and down on the bottom left hand side, you have the rural cluster development multifamily with apartments. And you have mixed apartments and single family clusters down here on the right hand side bottom. What is interesting about this slide is that in every one of those pictures, it's the same exact number of dwelling units. And that's important as we're looking at this area in terms of wanting to maintain sprawl within an approved geographic area of what we're already approved for you with utilities, as well as maintaining the agricultural balance that was significantly provided to us through that community engagement process. So this actually helps in terms of combating urban sprawl and the loss of agricultural land as we look at densities and how development should be developing here in the future. The final section of the book, I didn't include sample pages of that, but there's several pages of that 100 recommendations for implement activity. One of those is already underway. A lot of what you see in this document can't be achieved without modifications to the existing zoning code. So we've formulated a working group of residents that work with the zoning code on a regular basis, as well as concerned citizens that are deeply, I don't want to say emotional, but attached to the way current standards are for certain zoning districts. And we're hoping to come to a consensus on how we can see some future development occur that meets the recommendation identified in the comprehensive plan. So who will use this plan? Citizens, as they're looking at developing. Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, and other city organizations will base recommendations that are provided to them based upon what the plan is recommending, as well as City Council when looking at budgets and putting together capital projects. The plan will be reviewed on a regular basis to accommodate changing demographics and statistics and some of the technical data that we looked at, and as conditions change throughout the community. You're able to, as I said, you're able to go to woosteroh.com. It's right on the front page. You can not only download the actual document itself, but all the survey data is there, all the information you gathered from the focus groups, all the activities that were garnered at the information that was garnered at the activities of the 3 open houses, as well as minutes and things of all of our steering committees. I appreciate the opportunity. Any questions?
With all the improvements and enhancements you're talking about downtown, is there a plan in there for a parking garage?
Parking garage was not anything that rose to the level of importance. So we're all looking at service parking, but not a garage. Any other questions?
Is there a point at which the extent or the quality of our water supply supports the kind of growth that might happen in the next 7 to 8 years?
Information that I have, or that is that there is plenty of supply to accommodate. I don't know the exact number. I don't know if we can double our size or pretty much double our population with the capacity of the current plant.
Any plans for public restrooms downtown?
Question, was there any plans for public restrooms downtown? That was briefly discussed at a couple of the steering committee meetings, and that was not something that the plan ended up recommending. Now, I wasn't here at the time, but I understand there was a history of there was some public restrooms and some issues that came along with that. It was discussed, but it didn't rise to the level of putting it in the plan. Nor did I remember ever seeing it in any of the survey data we received back. Right, thank you very much.
No, you're fine. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all the information you shared with us today. And good luck with that one. Your job security is right. No, there sounds like there's a lot of great future for Wooster and a lot of great growth there too. So we really, really appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. Thank you again to all the guests for joining us. Next week, we'll be hearing from Armando and Erico. I'm guessing, are you guys ready? Next week, right? No? Yeah. Am I right? No? You're not? You're on next week. Get ready. All right. So come back and join us next week. And with that, we stand adjourned. You're so serious.